if I traded it all, if I gave it.
So welcome back. I am so excited about bringing on my next guest, who is Michael Aldrich, and he is the owner of, what is the name of the company?
It's called Michael E. Aldrich, Inc.
But you do something, this is great, guys. Listen to this, and a lot of people of you might have even had done this when you were younger. Tell them what you do.
I am a professional philatelist.
What's that?
See, most people don't know. That's basically a stamp collector, only instead of collecting, I buy and sell.
Okay. So you are a buyer and seller of stamps, but they're obviously, what kind of stamps do you obviously buy?
We do all kinds of collectibles, but generally our focus is in stamps.
Okay. But what makes, now you have to know, you can work with anyone in the world, basically, right?
Yes.
All around the country, you said to me all around the world, and people call you and they talk to you. They talk to you about the stamp. Do they do it where you have to then, do they send you pictures? How does it work now? How long have you been doing this? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, too.
Well, I started collecting is how I got in the business, and basically started like a lot of people do when somebody gives them some stamps. In my case, it was my grandmother gave me some stamps and a little album, and then it kind of grew from there. Well, I found out that I had this collecting gene, which a lot of collectors do, and it just kind of grew from there. I ended up moving quickly from being a stamp collector to a stamp dealer. I actually ran my first national ad in a stamp newspaper when I was 11 years old. So that was one of the things that just kind of kept me going. And then I ended up going to school back in Minnesota, where we were there for most of my life, and then moved out here to Phoenix 20 years ago. Graduated from St. Thomas College with a business degree, so I have that background in business. And then basically been involved in stamps that entire time. I've had other kind of part-time jobs and other things that I've been involved with, but stamps has basically been my career since the age of 11. So
you buy and sell stamps. I got to ask you right now, is there a special stamp that you're like dying to get? How do you know? Somebody might have one out there. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that is very visible in this hobby is an inverted airmail. It's called the inverted Jenny. There's been books and movies and television shows about this particular stamp, very famous stamp outside the hobby. And we just sold one here in one of our auctions last spring. We were involved in a stamp show down in Mesa, which is called Aeropex, coming up in a couple weeks, actually. And we held an auction at that show where we sold that stamp and ended up realizing $130,000 at auction. So that was a real treat. It's anytime you get to sell an inverted airmail as a stamp dealer, it's an honor.
Now you say that you, by the way, congratulations on that. You said most of your business is all about consultation, pre-appraisal consultations.
Well, a big reason why I'm here is that there are a lot of people out there that have stamp collections, or they've been given a stamp collection, or they have friends or neighbors or family, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know what they have. They're very nervous because they don't know if there's value or not. So a big part of what we do on a daily basis, and have been doing for all this time, is basically provide people with the answers, with the information that they need. Whether it's selling it or auctioning it or private treating it, there's options. There's options when you have stamps to sell. And then a lot of times what we will do is sit down with a family member or somebody trying to sell the collection, and we'll explain to them what they have. We'll tell them what's there, what value's involved, and once I have a chance to look at the collection, physically look at it, see what's there, see what the quality and the condition is, I can tell them what the value is. Once we know that, then we can establish what the best avenue of disposition is, whether it's through an auction or private treaty, the internet, whatever else it might be.
Well, a lot of people have this, especially like you said, they have them handed down to them. And does it matter? What is the criteria if someone called you up and said, you know, I have my grandpa's stamp collections or my mom's stamp collection when she was younger, and I was wondering if anything is even worth anything? Because, you know, they might have lots of stamps that they've been collecting. Is that somebody that they could call you too? Because, you know, or what's the difference between, like, going to someone like you And then they have a couple of different places out here that might have a stamp and coin place or whatever. What's the difference?
It still comes down to the bottom line that if you need the information, go to wherever you can get that information and get those answers. We're the largest dealer in Arizona, one of the bigger stamp dealers in the West Coast area. And so we have a pretty vast amount of experience in the markets, in stamps, and in all areas involved in philately. And so that gives us the information, the knowledge, the experience to answer your question, and whatever it might be. I get calls many times a week. I have this thing, or I have this stamp, or I have this book, or and then we ask a series of questions. We try to figure out what they have. It doesn't take very long to know if there's value, what's involved, and then we say, okay, now here's the next step. Here's what you have to do. If they're local, it's pretty easy. They can bring it in to me. If it's somewhere outside the state, sometimes it involves mailing it or sending it. Sometimes it involves me traveling to go see it. And sometimes it involves giving referrals to other stamp dealers or people so that they can take it to them.
Yeah, it's not like they can send you a picture of it. I mean, they may start off like that, but I think you would have to look at it. I mean, I'm looking at you thinking you've got that magnifying glass, you've got the tweezers in your hand, with the light above it to see whether it's in great condition in order to sell.
That would be kind of the final phase. Fortunately, with the internet and technology the way it is, we get a lot of pictures of stamps. Mm-hmm. And they can send them to my email addresses. They can go onto my websites. We have auctions up there almost all the time. They can see stamps, what is being sold, what they're worth, what their descriptions are. And a lot of times that'll help them decide what they have and what they need to do. So just getting that information is really the key here.
Now, your phone number, it's 480-488-1616. His website is Aldrich, and we'll spell it out for everybody. It's Aldrich, and it's stamps with the plural, so it's plural, stamps.com. And you do pre-appraisal consultations with everybody, and he can help anyone around the world. So, and we have listeners from around the world. So, again, you can call him. The number is 480-488-1616. Why do people collect stamps, of all things?
Well, I think the big thing is that they have this collecting gene. I mentioned it earlier, and it's funny how this pattern seems to follow itself through all of collectibles. And if you have a collecting gene, chances are you're going to collect something. If you don't have a collecting gene, you don't get it. You don't understand, you can't figure out why would somebody go out and collect baseballs or baseball cards or stamps or coins or whatever else it might be. They just don't get it. So a big part of this is just kind of satisfying that need to collect something. Stamps, a lot of collectibles, are very solace type of activity, and a lot of times you just do it yourself. But the flip side is collecting can also be very social. There are a lot of clubs, there's shows, there's associations that you can get involved with and meet people. And now with the internet, of course, it's wonderful because there's lots of blogs and there's people you can communicate with and virtual clubs and things. So collecting is just something that a lot of people do just to take a step away from some of the day-to-day pressures.
What is it, quickly, because we're going to go soon, but what is the future of collectibles and stamps in particular?
Well, it's a problem, certainly with the challenges that we have with kids and all the things that they're exposed to. When I grew up, I didn't have these issues with video games and televisions and iPads. So the big thing we're trying to do is get more kids involved. And I was recently on the board at the Smithsonian, and that was one of the things we tried to do.
And I want to make sure that everybody's clear. It's just stamps, not coins and stamps.
We do all collectibles, and a lot of times what we find is stamp collectors have coins and other things. We can help them with that also.
Right, because a lot of people do. When they were collecting the stamps, they got the coins as well. They can call you. They can even email you as well. Do a consultation with him. It's a free pre-appraisal consultation. You can help anyone around the world, and get your kids. I used to collect stamps. Get your kids into collecting stamps or something, but stamps are really a lot of fun. They're beautiful. Give him a call. His phone number is 480-488-1616. It's aldrichstamps.com.